Today, we're diving deep into Oscar Wilde's incredible novel, The Picture of Dorian Gray. It's a story built around one of the most fascinating and terrifying bargains in all of literature. I mean, just think about that for a second. That's the dark, brilliant idea at the heart of this whole story. It's a question that makes you wonder, what is the actual price of keeping your youth? And what's the real link between how we look, who we are, and, well, our soul? All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off in a London art studio. The artist is a guy named Basil Hallward, and it's here that three very different people come together and start a chain of events that, you guessed it, ends in tragedy. So, you've got this fascinating trio. First, there's Basil, the artist. He's a good guy, but he's completely obsessed with his subject's beauty. Then you have Lord Henry Wotton. He's basically the devil on your shoulder, always ready with a clever, dangerous idea. And right in the middle of it all is Dorian Gray, who is so breathtakingly beautiful he doesn't even realize the power he has. And right here, this is where the trouble really starts. Lord Henry whispers this poison into Dorian's ear. He tells him that his looks are the only thing that matter and that they're going to fade. It's like a ticking clock, and every second is bringing him closer to being old and, as he puts it, wrinkled and ugly. So when Basil finally shows him the finished painting, it just hits him. All of a sudden, Dorian doesn't see a beautiful work of art. He sees a cruel joke. He realizes that the face in the painting will stay perfect forever, while he, the real Dorian, is going to get old and fall apart. So in this moment of pure panic and vanity, he just blurts it out. He wishes, out loud, that the painting would get old instead of him. He says he'd give his soul for it. And, well, he doesn't know it yet, but something out there was listening. The deal is sealed. Okay, so the wish is made. Now what? Well, you don't have to wait long to see the consequences. And, you know, the first real mark on his soul, it doesn't come from some huge evil crime. It starts with something much smaller, something a lot more personal. Dorian gets completely obsessed with a young actress named Sybil Vane. But here's the catch. He's not in love with her. He's in love with the characters she plays every night. He loves her as Juliet, as Ophelia. He's in love with the fantasy, not the actual person. So one night, he brings his friends, Lord Henry included, to see her perform, and she's terrible, just awful. And the reason is actually kind of tragic. She's so in love with Dorian for real that she just can't fake emotions on stage anymore. But Dorian doesn't see that. He is absolutely disgusted, and he just shatters her heart with those 4 cold words. And when he gets home that night, something's different. He looks at the portrait and, wait a second, there's a new little sneer around the mouth, a touch of cruelty that wasn't there before. It's real. The wish actually came true. His soul is now literally on that canvas. The fallout from this is just devastating. Sybil, completely heartbroken, takes her own life. And just as Dorian starts to feel a little bit of guilt, who shows up but Lord Henry? He convinces Dorian that her death isn't his fault, but that it's like a beautiful, tragic final act in a play. And Dorian chooses to believe him, to feel no guilt. And that choice makes the portrait even uglier. So now the pattern is set. With his conscience basically hanging on a wall, Dorian realizes he's free. He can do anything he wants, and his face will never show the consequences. This is where he begins to live a complete double life. So first things first, he has to hide the evidence. He carries the painting up to an old schoolroom at the top of his house and locks the door. With the physical proof of his corruption hidden away, he spends the next couple of decades just exploring every single dark pleasure he can find. And the difference between the man and the painting becomes absolutely staggering. In public, he's still Dorian Gray, this charming, handsome young man who just never seems to age. He looks as pure as the driven snow. But upstairs, in that locked room, the thing on the canvas is becoming a true monster, logging every single one of his sins. So years pass. People start to whisper about Dorian, about how bad things seem to happen to people who get close to him. But then they look at his innocent face and think, no way. But then, the one person who can't be fooled shows up again. The artist, Basil Hallward. Basil shows up late one night, really worried. He's heard all these awful things about Dorian, and he confronts him. He says, "People say you're wicked. I need to see your soul before I can believe it." And Dorian just snaps. It's this strange, twisted mix of rage and pride. He says, "You want to see my soul? Fine, I'll show it to you." He leads Basil up to that locked room, throws the sheet off the painting, and just lets him see the full horror of what his art has become. I mean, can you imagine Basil's shock? He's looking at this grotesque, evil face, but he can still recognize his own brushstrokes. He realizes what he's looking at, a diary of a damned soul. And he starts begging Dorian to pray, to repent for what he's done. But Dorian is just filled with this uncontrollable hatred. He looks at Basil, the man who painted the portrait, and in his twisted mind, he blames him for his own fate. It's totally irrational. He grabs a knife and he murders the one man who ever truly adored him. After the murder, Dorian blackmails an old acquaintance into getting rid of the body, and he tries to just forget it all. But you can't just forget murder. He's haunted by it, and he knows that as long as that monstrous portrait exists, he'll never be free. He sees only one path left. He gets it in his head that if he can just destroy the painting, he can destroy the evidence. He can kill his conscience, erase his past, and finally be at peace. It's his last, desperate move. So he grabs the same knife he used to kill Basil, and he stabs the painting. His servants hear a horrible crash and a scream. When they finally break down the door, they find something incredible. On the wall, the portrait of their master is perfect and beautiful again. And on the floor is the body of a withered, disgusting old man with a knife in his heart. It's only by the rings on his fingers that they realize it's Dorian Gray. And that's the final, chilling irony, isn't it? By trying to destroy the evidence of his soul, he destroyed himself. All the age, all the sin, it all rushed back into his own body at the very end. It leaves you with that question. What do we really value? The perfect image we try to show the world? Or the messy, imperfect truth of who we really are?